Hello and welcome once again to another edition of Hoop. There it is. I'm Steve Russell. Mark Wise is here absolutely live with us as we talk hoops. The calendar has flipped to March. That means the madness, Mark Wise, is not far away.
Absolutely. There's something magical about this month in terms of college basketball. It kind of captures the attention of the sporting world like no other 3-week event. So from that standpoint, we're just, what are we, like 11 days from a selection Sunday? And of course, then we'll be talking about brackets and whatnot and matchups and who's playing who in what region and who got left out and who didn't deserve to be in, and all those things that come along with the bubble.
Let me see if you agree with this premise, Mark. I think right now 10 SEC teams are in. I think Vanderbilt's in now, right?
Yes.
Arkansas maybe on the bubble still, but Arkansas's got a chance. Georgia got a big win. They've got a chance too now, right?
Yeah, I think, coming down to the last week of the regular season, I look at 4 teams with the possibility. I think the SEC has 11 right now, locked.
Do you?
Because
okay.
I think Vandy's in, period. That their eighth league win the other day against Missouri. But I'm looking at 4 teams in terms of being on the bubble: Georgia, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, kind of in that order. And yet they have different strengths. For instance, Georgia has the best net ranking of the group and, of course, picked up 2 huge quad 1 wins. Arkansas has the best record against the other 3. Oklahoma has, oddly enough, the most quad 1 wins. Now, it's not just a matter of the selection committee looking at these 4 teams and going, well, who deserves to be in, because there are other teams also on the bubble. And oddly enough, one of those is a blue blood in terms of North Carolina. There's a team on the bubble. I have no idea why they're on the bubble. SMU, they have great metrics in terms of the predictive metrics, but they have no quad 1 win. And in my view, if who did you play? Who did you beat? Where did you beat them? How did you play? Those are kind of the 4 questions that the committee asks. If you don't beat anybody, I just don't see how they get in. So, that's going to have to be worked out. I do think, getting back to the SEC, I've said this last week, I'm going to continue to say this, and this is certainly not me being the PR voice of the SEC. I just don't know how 6-12 gets you in. I think it's a wart in terms of looking at your resume, and as a committee member, that would be a big concern for me. Now, if you're 6-12 and you've got some outstanding metrics in terms of quad 1 wins, in terms of non-conference strength of schedule, blah, 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 then maybe you get an extra look. But at the end of the day, Oklahoma is sitting here at 4-12. I think they've got to win twice just to get in the conversation. Now, the other wild card piece of this, Steve, is that if you're 6-12 and you win 2 games in the SEC tournament, okay, now you might be in the mix. But in terms of the SEC regular season, I think Georgia and Arkansas right now are ahead of Texas and Oklahoma.
Yep.
Georgia's remaining 2 games are at South Carolina and Vandy, both winnable, both losable. Arkansas's last 2 games are at Vandy and Mississippi State, both winnable, both losable. I've got Texas at Mississippi State on Tuesday night. Almost a must win for Texas. So there's a path for each of the 4th to get to the NCAA tournament, but I like where Georgia and Arkansas are right now.
All right, don't forget, broadcasting from Coach's podcast room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch us live, YouTube, Facebook, listen later on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcast, any of the nearly 40 platforms where you can find your favorite podcast. Like, follow, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And we are taking questions and comments on Facebook Live. Let us know in the comment section, and we'll try to get to those. In the meantime, the always popular questions of the week, brought to you by Davis Chevrolet, your premier North Central Florida dealer of Chevrolet. You can send your questions to questions@gatorshows.com. Got a lot of them, Mark, as you would imagine, so here we go.
Let's run with it.
Francis in Gainesville. I thought of you in reading this. Gators bounced back from the Georgia loss and beat Texas A&M despite not playing great and a few bad calls by the officials.
Oh, gosh.
How do they stay focused?
How do they stay focused? Well, what's their overall record? I don't even know. I don't think focus has been an issue. I mean, yes, you can talk about the first half at Georgia. You can talk about the start at Missouri. But how about the body of work? How about what they've been able to do? And how about the win at Auburn? You know, they have the best quad one win of anybody in the country, period. It's a supersized, jumbo, extra large, however you want to frame it. It is the best resume win of anybody in the country. So I don't think focus is a problem.
Joseph in Gainesville. Clayton seems to be in a slump the last couple of weeks. Will Richard playing his best basketball? How important is it to have a deep bench? Well, Richard starts, but bench is important.
Yeah. No. Florida getting Condon back in the way he played the other day. Aberdeen gives him a sensational fourth guard on the perimeter. Depth is important, but I will tell you this. When Clayton doesn't score and Florida wins, that's no different than Auburn winning the other day when Janai Broome had 9 points. So the more different ways you can figure out how to beat another team, whether it's with scheming or the individual performances, it makes you that much more difficult to defeat in March. I got to tell you, I watched most of the first 30 minutes in the Florida A&M game. I thought Florida's offensive scheme was sensational, and I don't want to get into the weeds, but Texas A&M plays on top with that funky hybrid zone man that they play. And when I say on top, they do a lot of switching, and the defender who's switching stays on top. And if you'll notice, Florida threw over that guy because he's not really looking at the ball. So they got the ball to not the dead corner, but just a couple of steps up from the corner. They got that shot all game long, made 14 threes. And when you make 14 threes, you're going to win.
Yeah, going to say they got the shot and they hit them.
Yeah, I mean, Richard is playing. I've said this, I don't know, November. I thought he was playing the best basketball in his career. He continues to do that. He'll be on a summer league team somewhere. He'll be on a summer league team.
Dawn in Gainesville, game day back here for the first time in 8 years. Amazing what winning does. How do you think the atmosphere was for the game? It was great.
Sensational. I mean, sensational. It was fabulous. It's fun to watch any place. You know, when I'm on the road and I'm channel flipping or I'm on my iPad and my phone and the hotel TV all at the same time, that's one of the things I notice. And when you see that in Gainesville, that's pretty special.
Melissa in Trenton, according to Game Day, 36% of the teams ranked in the top four at the end of the year make the Final Four. What do the Gators need to do in order to be in that 36%?
The top four, I mean, Florida, I mean, let's face it here. I think there's 6 teams for 4 spots in the number 1 seeds. Florida's in that mix. So I wouldn't even say in the top 4. I'd say the top 6. They're in that group. When you look at any gambling association with odds associated winning the NCAA tournament, I mean, Florida's always listed as the 4th, 5th best option or the best bet to win it all.
Jacob in Gainesville, a lot of people have asked this. Should they bail out in the SEC tournament and rest up for March?
That is $1 million question. I think if I were the coach, and everybody needs to understand what I just said, if I were the coach, I would probably treat, knowing that you know, my team is either going to be a 1 or 2 seed, I would probably treat the games like a 4th game in 5-day road trip in the NBA, meaning this. Let's rotate through the bench. Let's make sure no one is extended. And with 10 minutes to go in the game, you got a tie game. Let's go try to win. But I'm not going to do anything in the first half of a game to overextend anybody physically. Now, that doesn't mean that you can avoid injury. I just think that the way the league has played out, as physical as it is, the way the league is being officiated, I don't think you want to bang 4 games in 4 days. Like, for instance, Mississippi State, who I have tomorrow night, I think they lose the tiebreaker as of today, and they're in the 9th spot. So they have to play the first day. I win a game, win 2 games, then get out.
Okay.
That would be my mentality. That's not a give up attitude. I just want to see where my team is with 10 minutes to go in the game.
Parker in Pittsburgh. Georgia fans stormed the court after beating Florida. Did it in a way to avoid the fine. Brilliant?
Sure. I mean, don't we all look for ways around the rules?
Yeah, Vanderbilt.
So I think it was a smart play. I'm sure that's going to catch on.
Yeah, and remember that was the Vanderbilt scenario, right?
Right.
Announce, hold off, let the players and the coach, and go ahead and storm. Yeah.
And the other part of that, Steve, is if you feel like a court storming is safe, you've never gone through one. It's just
Without
not.
Question. Couldn't agree more. Walt in Gainesville, complete this sentence. The Gators won't win it all in April because.
I can answer that question easily, and I can apply about 20 different teams to this same thing. You have a bad shooting night. You go 5 for 28 from beyond the arc, you're asking for trouble.
Okay. Mark in Tampa, will the SEC have a record amount of teams in the tournament?
I think so. I think 13 is very realistic. I think the record is 11. So I'm saying 12 is almost a lock. 13 is doable. It will not be 14 just because the way, like, for instance, Texas and Oklahoma finished the season playing each other. So one of those 2 teams cannot get to a 6th win.
Denny in Dunedin, this is for Mark. Rick Pitino's now won 5 regular season conference titles at 5 different schools. Where does he rank in all-time coaching?
He has to be on the Mount Rushmore. There's no question about it in terms of what he's been able to do. The guy Flack can coach now. There's no question about it, and he's been doing it for decades. I think he's often said one of the biggest mistakes he ever made was leaving Kentucky. I think that's public knowledge, and he's repeated that over the years. But yeah, when doesn't that kind of speak for itself? I mean, you've taken 5 different programs in 5 different leagues and won the regular season. So, and they're going to show back up here in a few minutes when we get to Team of the Week.
Okay. Timothy and Gainesville, are Missouri and Bama the 2 most dangerous teams in the league? Possible dark horse Final Four teams?
Alabama is certainly not a dark horse, not under any circumstances. Missouri is definitely fits that mode. I like them a lot. I think they can win games in different ways. I think Mark Mitchell is a tremendous matchup problem in terms of who are you going to put on him? Are you going to put somebody bigger on him? He's quick enough to beat them off the bounce. Are you going to put a smaller wing defender on him? He'll just go through your shoulder and get to the paint. He's a matchup nightmare for other head coaches. And then the way they shoot around him, and I think they've got the 6th man of the SEC in Caleb Grill. I think that's done. I think he wins that award. As a matter of fact, I think Janai Broom, Caleb Grill, Freshman of the Year, Trey Johnson. Those awards are almost the votes are almost in.
The votes almost counted. Yeah. Jimmy James in Gainesville, Georgia played amazing perimeter defense, shot well to beat Florida. Did Mike White have the perfect game plan?
I would argue that you put those in the reverse order. They shot the ball well first. I'm not going to deviate from that. The reason they won the game is because Silas Demery made 3 shots early, got on a roll. And then what was the other part of that?
Get back to it here. Did White have the perfect game plan?
Sure. I mean, the ball goes in, it makes you look good as a coach. No question about it.
Stevie in Gainesville, did missing free throws against Georgia cost us the game?
No. The way you started cost the game. I mean, if you're not going to defend and keep up offensively, Florida did neither in the first 10 minutes, especially.
Elise and Cedar Key, Gators down 26 before coming back in the second half against Georgia. Why can't Mike White dominate a second half?
I don't know what that question is asking. Florida played much better in the second half. Did Mike White have anything to do with that? No. Florida just played better, played more urgently. That's one of the, I think that's one of the great misnomers in our game. Go to any NBA game. Why can one team be ahead 20 in the first quarter and the game be tied by halftime? There's so many factors that go into that, and being the head coach is one of the least important.
All right, last 3 or 4 here, Mark. Kristen in Gainesville, Tennessee's peaking at the right time. Could they go deep into March?
They're not peaking. If Meshack doesn't make that shot, if they don't have the, and again, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me come back to that and answer that.
Okay. Damon in Gainesville, do losses like Mizzou and Georgia ultimately help more than wins like the one at Auburn?
No, not under any circumstances. Wins are always, always, always most important. I'm watching Game Day the other day, and they're talking about teams that have good losses. There's no such thing. I mean, who did you play? Who did you beat? Where did you beat them? How did you play? Those are the 4 questions. Is who did you lose to and by how much come into play there? Only when everything else is a photo finish. Then you look at the warts of the resume. But the committee is evaluating the best part of your resume first.
Okay. And finally, Erica in Jonesville, are the players returning from injury affecting team chemistry?
What was the score against Texas A&M on Saturday?
Yeah.
It might be affecting team chemistry positively, not negatively.
Right. Yes, I agree. All right, back to the question about Tennessee.
I'm sorry?
You wanted to get back to that about Tennessee peaking at the right time.
No, I'm going to come back to that here
later. I got you.
Yes.
I got you. Okay. Well, those are our questions of the week, brought to you by Davis Chevrolet, your premier North Central Florida dealer of Chevrolet. Send your questions to questions@gatorshows.com. Quality Play of the Week, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. When you need a quality plumber, rely on the same company Gainesville's trusted since 1984. Quality Plumbing, their name says it all. What do you got?
Okay, now I'm going to go back to the Tennessee game.
Okay.
It wasn't necessarily the Meshack shot. It was how they got there. Remember, Alabama was up 4 with 31 seconds to go. Lanier drives, goes to the free throw line for the and 1. So now they're down 2. But lo and behold, Lanier misses the free throw. The free throw gets batted around, and Meshack gets fouled on the play going for the offensive rebound. So he goes to the free throw line. Oh, I'm sorry. I think it was Akara, the big guy who got fouled. He goes to the free throw line. And so that game went from 4, Alabama was up 4, and the next time they had the ball, it was tied. And then, lo and behold, there's a tie-up. Alabama has the ball with 3.8 to go underneath their own basket, 5-second count. So now Tennessee has the ball, and that's what all set up the Meshack miracle, if you will, in terms of he's not really a three-point shooter, but he certainly had a lot of room and really wasn't challenged on the closeout. He had a clean look at it. But it was not necessarily the play of the week, Steve, but it was the sequence of the week that led to that shot. Pretty bizarre.
Okay. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Much more hoop. There it is to come. Stay with us.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
I'm David Steele, voice of the Gators in 1984, when Brian Nasworth began a new journey, starting Quality Plumbing.
And I'm Mick Hubert. When I was the voice of the Gators, I called championship games, while Quality Plumbing was becoming champions for the Gainesville area. I'm Sean Kelly, the voice of the Gators, as Quality Plumbing celebrates its 40th anniversary. For years to come, I'll be calling games, and Quality Plumbing will continue to be the #1 plumbing company for Gator Nation.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for Core Power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with Core Power.
Florida Victorious is a powerful chapter in UF's NIL story.
We are
Florida Victorious.
Gator fans, let's get on board now, okay?
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
For over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee.
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Miapa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Miapa Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete. Welcome back to Hoop. There it is. Mark Wise, Steve Russell with you. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're watching us live or joining us later, we appreciate you doing that. Gator Art's got a question, Mark. How does Aberdeen get more minutes? He's the spark plug the team needs.
Well, if you get more minutes, then you're not necessarily a spark plug. So I think he's right around that 20, 22 minute. I mean, that's borderline starters minutes. So I don't think there's any reason to adjust his minutes. He enables them to get a 3-4 minute blow rotationally through Clayton, Martin, and Richard. So I wouldn't adjust anything there. And Todd has not. He's done a marvelous job substituting, rotating those guys around.
Another live question. Which team makes the tournament, Georgia or Vanderbilt?
Vandy's in, period. Period. Forget it. They're in. They're 8-8 in the league. I said 8-10 would get you in. I'm not getting off that. Georgia's got to get to that point. Georgia only has 6 SEC wins, but they have 2 winnable games this week at South Carolina and at Vandy. But guess what? They're also both losable.
Yeah, like a lot of games in the SEC are.
Yes.
Coach of the Week brought to you by International Diamond Center. Don't settle for a knockoff diamond when you can get the best diamonds at the best prices. For quality, selection, and value, International Diamond Center, the official jeweler of the Florida Gators. Coach of the Week.
I know that the ACC has not had a great year. I get all that. But Louisville was picked preseason 9th in the league. They've got a new head coach in Pat Kelsey, who came from Charleston. Has done a marvelous job kind of working his way up through the ranks. But they lost their 6'10", kind of do everything guy, Kasem Pryor, for the season when they lost to Oklahoma in the finals of the Battle for Atlantis. And yet Louisville tied for second, 16-2 in the ACC, on their way to the NCAA tournament. He's my coach of the week, Pat Kelsey from Louisville.
Yeah, done a nice job. I want to thank Campus USA Credit Union for helping us with our live questions from fans watching live on Facebook and elsewhere. Team of the Week brought to you by Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance. State Farm agent Ruse Ogra is your go-to agent in Gainesville and North Central Florida for the service you deserve at the price you want. Team of the Week.
Well, we talked about Rick Pitino earlier. My team of the week is St. John's, who clinched the Big East title, which gave Rick Pitino his 5th different conference title with 5 different teams. It's just unthinkable. However, it's St. John's first Big East title since 1985.
Wow.
That shocked me. You have to go. That is Chris Mullins. That is Bill Weddington. That's Walter Berry. Mark Jackson was a sophomore on that team. That's how long ago it has been since the Johnnies won the Big East. So congratulations to the team. They're an unconventional team. We talked about them a couple of weeks ago. They don't shoot a lot of threes. They're marvelous in the mid-range, or as I like to say, they have their master's degree in the mid-range now. So they beat you in different ways than most teams, but my goodness, what a season the Johnnies have had.
I got to digress here a second. You would appreciate this, Mark. For some reason, growing up, I was a Knicks fan because they had, DeBusschere and Reed and that bunch.
Right.
But for some reason, I just didn't like playing basketball as opposed to football and baseball. So you're in the neighborhood, right? And they're picking teams and we got to have Steve. Okay. It was one of those, right? But it was true. But my introduction to college basketball was going to the ECAC Holiday Festival in the Garden. And you could buy a cheap ticket and sit up there and watch basketball all dadgum day. And I did that. I remember Rutgers and Phil Sellers, and it was so much fun. And even though I couldn't play the game, that's where I got my appreciation for, because I got to sit there and watch games all day. It was great.
Yeah, and that's what Pitino, I think, has done. He's brought the fun back to the Garden.
Yeah. Baller of the Week. Let's do Sub of the Week, brought to you by Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover 11 delicious Cuban sandwiches at Miapa Latin Cafe with 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Sub of the Week.
Well, we have to go back midweek because, and you talked about before we came on the air about Michigan State just kind of feels like they find ways to win games. They're playing at Maryland midweek, and I don't know if you saw the 3-quarter shot that
I did.
Trey Holloman made. I have no idea why Maryland shot so early in the possession, but he kind of ends up with the ball and does his best Chandler Parsons imitation against NC State. That's a 60-foot shot that hits nothing but the bottom, and Michigan State wins. So a guy off the bench who made his only 3 in the game from 60 feet wins it for Michigan State. Those are the sort of things that happen to a team that is good to begin with, or what's the old saying, make your own luck. That's what Michigan State, that's what Tom Izzo has done for a long time. He has made his own luck.
All right, we'll take a break. We're about halfway done with our hoop. There it is for today, but much more to come. So stay with us.
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
Fans don't get sacked by high prices. Join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet. This week at Davis, score big savings on our all-star Chevy selection, the most awarded brand for new vehicle quality, like Chevy's MVP, the new Silverado, with low 2.8 financing and no payments for 90 days. Plus, we're tackling high prices on the area's best GM-certified pre-owned inventory. So join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet on North Main Street.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
At Crystal Air and Water, we've got a winning offer for you. As you switch off the AC and turn on the heat, why not upgrade to a new system? Take advantage of our amazing financing options. You can get a 12.99 fixed rate for 5, 10, or 15 years, or you can score big with 12 months, same as cash financing. Don't fumble on comfort this season. Crystal Air and Water has you covered. Call them today at 352-333-0460 or visit acpenguin.com.
License number CMC 1249384.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
At Titan MRI and Imaging, you'll visit the only locally owned and operated MRI imaging center in town. Start feeling better today. It's your choice. TitanMRI.com.
Welcome back to Hoop. There it is. Facebook Live question mark from Jeremy. Who does Florida not want to play in the SEC tournament? Matchup problem, etc.
Auburn. I mean, that's kind of the easy answer. In terms of teams that they might run into in the first day that they play, I would probably put Missouri at the head of that list. I think they're difficult to play.
Okay. Let's do our games to look for. Brought to you by Florida Victorious. Game-changing plays, life-changing impact. Florida Victorious, proud partner of the Florida Gators on and off the court.
Well, Monday night, Kansas is at Houston. Kansas has had all kinds of trouble defending. Houston has won the Big 12 title for the second straight year. What a job Kelvin Sampson has done bringing that program from the American and really have become the bully of the Big 12, if you will. On Tuesday night, there are 3 SEC games that I want to bring your attention to, and they all have hoop junkie, all kinds of bubble watch. I talked about if you want to move up the Lunardi ladder, you need to win. If you lose, you move down the Lunardi ladder. So Georgia's at South Carolina, Arkansas's at Vanderbilt, Texas at Mississippi State. That's the game I've had. They all have March ramifications. On Wednesday, of course, Florida and Bama in Tuscaloosa. On Friday night, Dayton at VCU. VCU is going to win the A-10. Can anybody beat them along the way? On Saturday, Kentucky is at Missouri. I think this has got big-time SEC tournament ramifications to it. There is a way for Kentucky not to get in the top 8. They can easily be playing on the first day of the SEC tournament. If you're number 8, you get a bye. And if you're number 9, you have to play on the first day. There's a big gap between those two numbers. Bama at Auburn in the rematch. There's also, I don't think Florida will fall below number 4 because of the tie-breaking procedures. I think Tennessee's most likely to win twice this week. Alabama and Florida have to play each other. There's a very good chance that the 3 of them will end up in a 3-way tie for second. And in that scenario, I'm pretty sure Florida comes in 4th. I don't really think it matters. Duke at Carolina, I get it. Carolina's a desperate team. They're not as good as they have been, but that game always seems to deliver. And then The last game of the SEC regular season this year is Oklahoma at Texas. Again, I'm going to come back to that bubble-licious kind of game that may determine. It may not be that the winner gets you in to the NCAA tournament, but the loser might be eliminated.
Yeah, loser gets you out.
Yeah.
Baller of the Week brought to you by Crystal Air and Water. Family-owned and operated Crystal Air and Water services air conditioners, furnaces, boilers, and more for Gainesville, Alachua, and nearby areas. We're not comfortable till you are. Baller of the Week, Mark.
Well, I'm going to change this a little bit, Steve. I'm going to call it Baller of the Month.
Okay.
The freshman sensation for Texas, Trey Johnson, averaged in league play, which is all you do in February, averaged in February 26 points a game.
Wow.
He is, I've said this, I think of all the freshmen in the SEC, he's the most ready to play at the next level. And lo and behold, I've been saying this all season long, or since I've started having Texas, I should say, is that I don't understand how guys are ahead of him after the top 4 guys in terms of the draft, in terms of the mock draft, because I think everybody's in conjunction that are in agreement that it's Flag, it's the 2 guys from Rutgers, and it's Edgecombe from Baylor. I think that's kind of a given. But yesterday, ESPN, in their infinite wisdom, put Trey Johnson number 5. And I'm like going, just ask me. I could have told you that 2 months ago. So I'm a big fan of Trey Johnson. I love the way he plays. He has great positional size. He's fun to watch. I've got him one more time tomorrow night at Mississippi State.
Is there, Mark, Duke certainly fits this bill. If you go outside of the SEC, exclude Duke, give me 2 or 3 teams not in the league that you think could make a deep run in the tournament. You mentioned Houston. Give me some of those.
Houston has to be on that list. I think Texas Tech has to be on that list because they've gotten much better on the offensive end.
Yeah, that you're doing the same thing I did.
I don't, I'm putting 4 SEC teams in that group, so that's already 6 or 7 teams. Can a team outside of that make that kind of run? Sure. But who could it be? I think you're just kind of, you're Ted Lasso, you're barbecue sauce. You're throwing darts at the dartboard. Yeah,
because I'm looking around, and, some years you might have 10, 12 teams that, okay, hey, if things go right. But I just don't see that many that stick out to me where you go, outside the SEC that I think have a legit shot. And I think what you're saying is we're saying the same thing.
I think maybe Iowa State gets in that mix as well because they've gotten much better offensively. But, man, I think you have to go to Michigan State, but I don't know that they play consistently enough. So I'm going to stick with the 7 that we kind of agreed on and go from there.
Okay. If we had another category here, it would be most disappointing teams from the start of the year, brought to you by Steve Russell. Okay. Kansas comes to mind in that category.
Right.
What say you?
Well, they are, but the bar is so high. I mean, it's kind of an unfair label to put on a Bill Self team. I know that they are going through some issues right now because he had to issue a statement about the fans treating players at Kansas, which is never acceptable, not under any circumstances. But that's where, if you're at Kansas, if you're at Kentucky, if you're at Duke, the expectation level is so unrealistic. Kentucky, I think, has hung, is it 8 or 9 banners? And yet that's all everybody wants to talk about. When can we hang the next banner? That's so unrealistic. It's stupid. It's a stupid way to think.
All right. We'll take a break. Come back We will continue with our hoop. There it is. Stay with us.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
The most important thing I learned from my father was work ethic and integrity. Never veer away from integrity, even if it costs you money.
International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire.
The core value for IDC is to protect the customer.
That means offering the largest selection, uncompromising quality, the strongest warranties, and honest guidance from experts who are not paid on commission. International Diamond Center at Celebration Point. Online, shopidc.com.
I'm David Steele, voice of the Gators in 1984, when Brian Nasworth began a new journey, starting Quality Plumbing.
And I'm Mick Hubert. When I was the voice of the Gators, I called championship games, while Quality Plumbing was becoming champions for the Gainesville area.
I'm Sean Kelly, the voice of the Gators, as Quality Plumbing celebrates its 40th anniversary. For years to come, I'll be calling games, and Quality Plumbing will continue to be the #1 plumbing company for Gator Nation.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for core power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with Core Power.
Fans, don't get sacked by high prices. Join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet. This week at Davis, score big savings on our all-star Chevy selection. The most awarded brand for new vehicle quality, like Chevy's MVP, the new Silverado, with low 2.8 financing and no payments for 90 days. Plus, we're tackling high prices on the area's best GM-certified pre-owned inventory. So join the winning team at Davis Gainesville Chevrolet on North Main Street.
Over 2 decades, Miapa has been a staple in Alachua County. Start your day right at Miapa, where fast and affordable authentic cuisine awaits.
We're known for serving the best Cuban coffee.
Our secret is in every sip and every bite, bringing the flavor of our culture straight to your palate. Everyone is welcome at Miapa Latin Cafe. Visit us at one of our locations and let us take you on a journey full of flavor. Miapa Latin Cafe, where every bite is a taste of tradition.
If you've got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
And don't forget, Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete. Also want to thank Campus USA for sponsoring our live chat questions from YouTube and Facebook. Speaking of that, Mark, on YouTube, James says, how about them Gators? On Facebook, Andrew says, are we going to have to fire the women's basketball coach?
I don't have any. I'm never a proponent for that, so I'm not going in that direction. I get the sentiment. It's a tough league to climb the ladder. I don't know about the dollars involved. I don't know if they're on equal footing. So there's so many factors that go into that. I do know that we had the world's most famous coin flip yesterday in terms of determining the #1 seed for the women's SEC tournament. And yet that got criticized a lot on social media. I don't know how else you're going to go about deciding that would be the most fair to each program. South Carolina and Texas beat each other during the regular season. They lost to no one else, so there's no tiebreaker that comes into play. Both are at 15-1, and so that coin flip determined who's the #1, who's the #2 seed. The only difference in those two spots is that if you're the #1 seed, you play earlier in the day. So that might come into play later in the week if they both continue to move on and play each other in the finals. And then I know that Florida, I think, is in the 11-14 game and plays Auburn. They lost at Auburn earlier in the year. I always liked the fact that if you're in that kind of situation, in that kind of game, I think it's a better attention getter for your players if you lost the previous matchup. So I kind of like this for Florida in terms of meeting Auburn on that first day of the SEC women's tournament. And lo and behold, it's the first week of March and we're talking about tournaments. The ASUN on the men's side has already gotten underway. So, when we talk about and start at the top of this show talking about the madness, it's all around us.
I'll respond to the question of Andrews. And Mike says that Kelly Ray Finley's been fairly successful when you look at the history of the Florida women's basketball program. She has recruited McDonald's All-Americans here, which a lot of the previous coaches did not. So if you look at that, and a lot of those players are younger, assuming they stay, which is a huge assumption with any program, not just Florida's, the future certainly looks bright because those players got some experience this year and with their talent level should be better a year from now. So we will see. And that leads us right into our women's basketball check-in, brought to you by Meldon Law with 50 years of experience, the only accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Meldon Law won't back down. SEC tournament time for the women.
Yeah, that's the coin flip yesterday. I found kind of humorous, and yet I didn't think there was any other way to fairly do that to both programs. I mentioned the consequences of being 1 versus 2, and the fact that Florida's playing in the first day in the 11-14 game in the SEC tournament. So again, there's new hope for everybody, and yet it's the Ted Lasso line. It's the hope that kills you. So everybody's going to start a new this week in Greenville.
Top 4 teams brought to you by Fairlife Core Power. Discover Core Power protein shakes by Fairlife. Explore our 26G and 42G high-protein drinks, perfect for workout, recovery, and nutrition.
The top 3 have not changed for me in terms of Auburn, Duke, and Houston. Then you have the decision to who are you going to put at the number 4 spot, and that's Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida. What does Florida have that the other 2 do not have? A win over Auburn, so I have Florida at number 4.
When you look at it, it's interesting because, you have a Kentucky background and, what the expectation is for that program is, ridiculous. But
crazy. It's crazy.
But what kind of a job do you think Coach Pope has done in his first year?
Sensational because of the wins that they have, and they've navigated through injury after injury, and now Jackson Robinson is out for the year. They played without their best defender. Now they're not a very good defensive team, but when you take Lamont Butler out of the mix, they're even worse. So from that standpoint, if you had told Kentucky fans when you made the change and you had no one on your roster last April, and you told them this is where you're going to be, you were going to have these wins. Remember, they have a win over Duke. You're going to have these wins and be comfortably in the NCAA tournament. As a matter of fact, their seed in the NCAA tournament is going to be higher or better, depending on your point of view, than their seed in the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
So again, when you win, your expectation changes. I get all that. But my goal for fans is to take a look at your program over 20 years. What has your program done over 20 years in terms of league success, in terms of NCAA tournament success? And that should be a fair expectation level. Like, I think Florida fans have every right to think that their team should get in the NCAA tournament every year because they've basically done that over the course of time. I also think it's fair when you average the number of wins that they've had in that time frame in the NCAA tournament. I think it's fair to say that Florida should win a game in the NCAA tournament. That's a realistic expectation. But beyond that, No. Then you're telling me you have no idea. You're disregarding the historical part of your team's history, and that you're disregarding how difficult it is to win games in the NCAA tournament, which you and I have been preaching for years.
No doubt. We'll take a break. We'll wrap up our hoop. There it is for this week. Stay tuned.
Crystal Air and Water, we've got a winning offer for you. As you switch off the AC and turn on the heat, why not upgrade to a new system? Take advantage of our amazing financing options. You can get a 12.99 fixed rate for 5, 10, or 15 years, or you can score big with 12 months, same as cash financing. Don't fumble on comfort this season. Crystal Air and Water has you covered. Call them today at 352-333-0460 or visit acpenguin.com.
License number CMC 1249384.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
Florida Victorious is a powerful chapter in UF's NIL story.
We are
Florida Victorious.
Gator fans. Let's get on board now, okay?
Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators.
Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that builds commercial structures for contractors who expect unrivaled quality, including the head ball coach's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. You only have one chance to make a building that holds up to the highest standards through all kinds of weather. Visit silverbackconcrete.co to see why they're the #1 choice in the Southeast. You stand on it, we stand by it. Silverback Concrete's got your back.
At Titan MRI and Imaging, you'll visit the only locally owned and operated MRI imaging center in town. Start feeling better today. It's your choice. TitanMRI.com.
Welcome back as we wrap up our hoop. There it is for this week. Again, we are broadcasting from Coach's podcast room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill here in Gainesville and Celebration Point. Facebook, YouTube, lots of folks watch us live there. You can listen later at Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube Podcast, almost 40 platforms where you find your favorite podcast. Like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And we appreciate the questions we got today live as well. Mark, I want to go to Florida, Alabama to end here because it always seems they play high-scoring, really offensively electric games, and I don't expect anything different here. But let me ask this question: we all know Nate Oates has said we don't want to take twos. We don't want to do that. So the defensive team knows that, and yet Alabama continues to score. Why?
Because of Mark Sears' ability to beat people off the bounce, either for scores for himself or to set up others. You know, they will score at twos, but only at the rim. They do not. You'll get benched if you take a mid-range jumper under Nate Oates' system. They shoot a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes. Sometimes their percentage is not very good. And you have to remember, they've done all of this year losing Reitzel earlier in the season to a season-ending injury. So they were even going to be better, in my view. Both of these teams, I'm so tempted, Steve, because I'm in Starkville for the game tomorrow night, and people may not know this, but Mississippi State and Alabama are the two closest programs to each other in this Southeastern Conference. Only 2 hours and 10 minutes from Starkville to Tuscaloosa and vice versa, or less than that, really, because it's 2 hours to Birmingham. And so I'm tempted to go over Wednesday and just be a fly on the wall, sneak in, figure out a way to get a pass and watch the game. That's how excited I think exciting the game will be for fans, people watching in. They've both been, when I look at the matchup, they've both been marvelous in league play at winning at the arc. What do I mean by that? 3-point differential. Florida makes 3 more threes a game than their opponents in league play. That's +9 in 3-point differential. Well, Bama's is even better. It's +11 in terms of 3-point differential on an average basis in a SEC game. So I don't know that either team has to win that category, but you can't lose it. Meaning one team can't make 13 threes and the other one make 8. You're going to get beat, period. I'm going to look at 3-point percentage, which team shoots a better percentage at the arc, because they're both going to shoot a lot of threes. I don't think there's any question about that. And then I'm going to look at rebound margin, rebound differential, second chance points. Who can win that battle in terms of getting extra possessions, in terms of getting better 3-point shots off offensive rebounds, which we all know is one of the better 3-point opportunities you have because the defense is scattered. So those are a couple of keys to the game as I see them.
All right, make sure to watch Mark's game this week, and we'll see what happens with Florida and Alabama, and back next week for another edition of Hoop There It Is as we inch closer to March Madness. Thanks to Zach for producing our podcast today. Thanks to all of you who are watching or listening live and who will later on listen and watch us. We appreciate you doing that. For Mark Wise, I'm Steve Russell. So long, everybody.
We thank you for listening to Hoop There It Is with Steve Russell and ESPN's Mark Wise. Hoop There It Is, a service of Silverback Concrete, Titan MRI, and QC Kinetics. It's available for you via podcast at WRUF.com and on the WRUF radio app. Hoop There It Is, paid for by Weeby Marketing and produced by ESPN 98.1 FM, 850 AM, WRUF, the home of the